People come up with various reasons for their use of alcohol. These reasons are in generally we call alcohol expectancies. So the alcohol expectancies are the cognitive, affective and behavioral outcomes an individual expects to occur following the alcohol use. If you ask someone, why do you use alcohol? They come up with various reasons like to forget problems, to be macho or daring, to ease weariness, for pleasure, to have fun. So these things are called alcohol expectancies. In the prevention of alcohol use, this challenging of alcohol expectancies is a very promising practice. Okay, in my previous presentation, we have discussed about 4 ways of challenging alcohol expectancies. Number one was just simply asking, why do people drink? Why people drink? So thinking about why someone is drinking itself opens the arena of this alcohol expectancy challenge. Second thing we discuss about the biphasic response. One day a person drink alcohol to be happy, next day he is very sad after using alcohol. So the mood differs. One day to be active and the other day to be sedate and be relaxed. Likewise, one day to sleep well and another day to be awake. So this biphasic response, we discuss about that. That is also another way to challenge these alcohol expectancies. Third one is really questioning the experience of alcohol use. How do you feel in your body, in your head after using alcohol? So just thinking about how someone feels about alcohol is the third way of examining, the third tool, the third activity that someone should think about when thinking of this alcohol expectancies. And fourth thing we discussed that day in my first presentation, uh, we started to question whether these expectancies are correct or not. The myths about the expectancy. One day a person drinks alcohol and another day he is powerfully reminded of his problems and forgotten enmities. Actually, alcohol does not helps to forget problems, but it aggravates the problem and another more problems will arise. So that kind of questioning that we discussed about the under point 4. Today we discuss about the point 5, the activity 5 on this alcohol expectancy challenge. What is it? Developing the mindfulness on alcohol experience. Once again we have to think about the real experience of alcohol use, and then we have to examine it with your interpretation. How did you interpret it? How did you interpret that experience? So this is we call the mindfulness about alcohol. What is mindfulness? That you start to concentrate on your alcohol use and then start questioning about the real experience. So through this that we can see the reality, looking at the reality, and at the same time questioning why I was not seeing this reality earlier. Anyway, so now I asked you to, maybe that sometimes you are a user of alcohol occasionally. So if you have any experience in alcohol use, you have to think about the way that you used alcohol and that process. How did it feel? First of all, it starts with the nose. Actually speaking, alcohol has a very strong odor and it is a very strong smell, and in our day-to-day language we can say it is very stinky. But when person is asked about this smell, sometimes alcohol users naturally they say, oh, fragrant, nice smell. Then you have to be mindful the real experience is strong smell, and in any other occasion you might not interpret it as a nice smell, but in the alcohol use setting that you interpret it as nice smell. How does it happen? Just questioning will open your mind, and that is a tool for challenging alcohol expectancies. Then you take alcohol, you imbibe alcohol, you take alcohol in the mouth. How does it taste? Normally, pure alcohol is tasteless, but you know that it has a strong sensation because it is alcohol. It has a strong sensation, and if you think about the beer, most of the beer is very bitter. But how people report it? Oh, nice taste. Why do they report it like that? Actually, beer is bitter, and most of the experience that you get in the mouth is not really nice, but you interpret it as very nice taste. Now, for example, if you give some beer, right, to a child or a cardboard cup, in a cardboard cup, and ask him to drink and see how he reacts. He may take it and he will just throw it out because it's bitter. They won't swallow it. But in the drinking context, that we keep on drinking, that saying, oh, nice taste. Then you have to question. We know there is a strong sensation, and it is bitter, and it is not really nice in the mouth. But why did I interpret as a nice taste? That you have to think about. Then once it goes to the system further, in the digestive system further, in the throat, it causes a burning sensation. Why? Because alcohol actually irritates the mucous membrane, and it is a burning sensation. But how someone interpret it? They say nice warm sensation. So that burning sensation, you interpret it as a nice warm sensation. Now it's time for someone to think about, why did I interpret it that way? If I drink any other substance, any other drink whatsoever, and if it irritates your inner mucus lines, so you say, oh, it's a burning sensation. But when you are using alcohol, the same thing that you feel, but you interpret it as nice warm sensation. So the question now you have to make in your mind is, why do I interpret it as that? Then, as earlier also we discussed, the how do you feel in the head? In the head you find it is rotating, like head is rotating like dizzy, heavy. There's a little pain sometimes. You feel drowsy after using alcohol. How do you interpret it? Pleasantly intoxicated. What does that mean? Pleasantly intoxicated. That means you feel drowsy, dizzy, little pain in the head, and your head is rotating like, but you interpret it as pleasantly intoxicated. And sometimes we further go and call it high or a kick. So this high or a kick is the feeling that you get in your head. You feel dizzy and drowsy. Then you have to question, why did you interpret it that way? Why did I say, when I feel drowsy, when I feel dizzy, when my head is rotating like, why did I interpret it as very pleasant feeling, pleasantly intoxicated? So you have to question these things. And in the body, you feel lethargic, slow, impaired coordination, and then nauseous feeling. You feel sick. But how do you interpret it? Pleasurable, euphoric, happy, I am enjoying. When you feel that you are very lethargic and impaired coordination and nauseous and feel sick, but why did I interpret that feeling euphoric or pleasurable? So those things that you have to question, and once you be mindful about it, first of all you have to put your attention to this, and secondly, forget about the past. Maybe that you have many connotations for this alcohol usage, but just forget about the past, and at the same time forget about the future. If I think this way, my friends will say something, right? Don't just think about, just forget about the future. Think this moment and be mindful and question, why did I interpret this alcohol experience a pleasurable thing? Why did I interpret it? That you have to question. Then what happened? This self-observation will lead to self-reflection and further self-exploration, and you will start exploring that alcohol experience is really dull, or alcohol experience is really unpleasurable, and that will lead to self-liberation from alcohol use. Self-liberation from alcohol use. That is what we want to have, that liberation from alcohol use, because we are dependent. So we have to be independent from alcohol use. So we have to liberate ourselves from alcohol use. That is the fifth exercise, fifth way that we challenge alcohol expectancies. That exercise will lead to the sixth one. In that, we are trying to develop the insight on this alcohol use. How alcohol experience became positive. Right? With all this knowledge, people perceive alcohol use is something like pleasurable, beneficial, valuable, and magical. We saw that real alcohol experience, the C2H5OH, ethanol, the real ethanol experience, the pharmacological effect is unpleasant, and you feel lethargic, it's boring using, and as we know that we won't get what we expect out of it, so using alcohol is little silly and stupid. So this is the reality. This is the reality that we discuss. But people perceive this as pleasurable, beneficial, valuable, and magical. So we have to have our insight on this, from mindfulness to developing an insight on alcohol use. Why people say that it is pleasurable, why it is beneficial. So I have pointed out 5 issues under this, 5 factors under this. First thing is the pleasure. Where is this pleasure? The pleasure given by others. The pleasure given by others. Second one is the symbol of pleasure, expectancies, then the masculinity and the non-femininity, and the removal of withdrawal discomfort. Let's look at these things very briefly. Others given pleasure. What is others given pleasure? Once you take alcohol, you can behave the way that you want, right? People, your bad behavior, your behavior is pardoned or sanctioned with permissiveness. So the people just permit to act the way that you want to act after using alcohol. Right? If you want to go and scold the next door neighbor, you drink and go and scold. Following day, you might tell him that, oh, yesterday I think there was an incident. Sorry, I was under the influence. What will be the reaction of the next door neighbor? He might say, yes, he is a good man, but after using alcohol, he is bad. Now, I am a good person. Only after using alcohol, I become bad. So I can protect my self-image as a good person. So, but you behave badly. So that it may be beneficial, because you scolded the next door person, and at the same time you were excused because they pardoned and sanctioned your misbehavior. Right? So it is beneficial. What is the thinking behind? Because thinking behind is that people think that after using alcohol, they don't know what they are doing. But this is completely wrong. They know what they are doing very well. Think about a person who goes on the road using abusive words and challenging people to fight. And what will happen if he sees a police officer? All of a sudden, he becomes very sober, and he pretends that he hasn't used any alcohol. So how does this happen? Even at that time, he had the same amount of alcohol in his system, but he becomes sober in presence of a police officer or a village thug. or a bully, a stronger person than him. How does this is happen? We automatically think that after using alcohol, they don't know what they are. That thinking actually, that is the pleasure given by others. So that thinking make the alcohol user, that alcohol use is beneficial for the user, and that is not the chemical effect of alcohol, but it is the pardoning and sanctioning of alcohol induced misbehavior by all of us, by the society. So it is not the chemical effect. Anyway, in my third presentation, we will discuss about alcohol and disinhibition, and we are going to look into this in detail. Right, symbol of pleasure. Alcohol is the symbol of pleasure, because from our childhood we observe alcohol, we saw alcohol in pleasurable occasions, like parties, festivities, after examinations, when you are relaxed, in a trip, whatever the place, the happiness was there. So what happened? When you are happy, you use alcohol. Happy, you saw alcohol first of all. Happy, you saw alcohol. At the same time, happy, you use alcohol. Happy, you use alcohol. After sometimes you think actually alcohol makes us happy. No. When you are happy, in a happy setting, pleasurable setting, that you are using alcohol, then what happened? That happiness attributes to alcohol through classical conditioning and later on operant conditioning. That is also another thing. So symbolic, alcohol acquires a symbolic meaning of pleasure or alcohol. Most of the people become happy and elated at the mere sight of the bottle, unopened bottle. Sometimes the moment that you see the alcohol bottle, you become happy and elated. You don't have to wait till it goes to your system and then reach the brain to feel happy. Just at the mere sight of the bottle, people become happy. How does this happen? That is the symbolic value of alcohol, because people are not only using alcohol, but they adore and they venerate alcohol. They believe very much alcohol gives pleasurable experience. So it is not it is chemically it is dull, but these expectations and the symbolic value attached to alcohol brings someone to perceive that alcohol is pleasurable and beneficial. Anyway, there are many other symbolic values, like symbol of pleasure, symbol of adulthood, symbol of rebelliousness, that we are going to discuss further. Then the expectancies that we learn from our childhood, from our home. We learn when you there are many expectations about to forget problems, to be macho or to be strong, then to be to ease tiredness, to ease weariness, to have fun. So there are many expectations that those expectancies also leads us to feel that it is pleasurable. Then the masculinity and non-femininity, right? You know that masculinity and femininity, that is different from male and female. We know that male and female is true, and there is the biological difference between the man and the woman. But there is masculinity and femininity. What are masculinities? What are femininities? Just think about it. Later on we will discuss this. What are the masculinities and femininities? But the people think about the femininity traits, like decent. To be decent is characteristic of femininity. It's so for a teenager boy, right? After some times that he has to show, I am not always decent. Sometimes I am indecent. How can a 16-year-old boy or 19-year-old boy show that he is not always decent, but sometimes he is indecent? Because decency, to be decent, is explained as a trait of femininity, and they have to show that sometimes that they are indecent. Then they use alcohol and other drugs to show sometimes they can be indecent. So that is one other area. And the fifth one is removal of the withdrawal discomfort. We know this is alcohol use, just like smoking and other drug taking and gambling. It's a habit. Once you have a habit, when you are not performing it, your level comes down. Okay, Once you perform the habit, you become normal. Think about a gambler. If you compulsive gambling, if you keep him inside a house and without letting him go and gamble, but how does he feel? He feel uncomfortable, and those things we call the withdrawal discomfort. The moment that he goes and put on a bet, or when he goes to casino, that withdrawal discomfort will be removed. So in gambling, we know that it is 100% psychological, but that psychological effect has a bodily impact also. So just as that, we are discussing this further. If you look at how dependence is explained in DSM-5, it will be very useful how they compare alcoholic and compulsive gambler, right? Alcohol addiction and compulsive gambling, and there is a mental element in this. So this is psychologically, we think once I do that, I will be like that. So this also, this is not the chemical effect of the substance, but it is mind made. So these are the things. So others driven pleasure. If I summarize this, real alcohol experience is unpleasant, boring, little silly and stupid, but people perceive it as pleasurable, beneficial, valuable and magical due to various reasons, such as others driven pleasure, symbolic pleasure, symbol of pleasure, expectancies, masculinities and non-femininities, and removal of withdrawal discomfort. And these things are not the chemical effect or the pharmacological effect of that substance. So what expectancy challenge does? We remove this part. Remove this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once you remove this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, alcohol use become unpleasant, and it will be a dull, boring experience. So number 6, understanding how someone perceive, how alcohol experience become positive. So that insight is very important. With the alcohol user, we have to have the empathy. We have to understand how we perceive it is pleasurable and beneficial. Once we understand that part, we can intervene and challenge their expectancies, and we can help them. So that empathy can be developed through understanding how someone identifies alcohol use is pleasurable. It is through these other factors, not the chemical effect, but these pardoning, sanctioning of alcohol-induced misbehavior, then symbolic value of alcohol, those expectancies, then the masculinities, and mind-made removal of withdrawal discomfort. These are the factors. So that is another area that we can challenge alcohol expectancies. In the third presentation, we are going to deal with this others driven pleasure in detail. Thank you.